Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video on this channel. So a couple of days ago, something really exciting happened. I got my new camera in the mail. So it is a Nikon D800 and it's going to replace it's the Nikon D300, which is a sad day, but also a very exciting day. So I've talked for a long time, like even towards my first video on here, that I needed to upgrade my equipment. So that was from like the lights to the audio to the tripod to the camera. So I have upgraded my audio and my camera. The audio still needs a wee bit of a touch up. This is what it's replacing, and I've used this for years, but I'm so excited to be getting a new camera and working with it. The new camera has not left my hand. Between taking photos of like the dog, the cats, anything that would let me take photos of, like out in landscapes and things, I just haven't set it down. I had to charge the battery up because I drained it, but I'm really excited about the prospects of this new camera. Not to say this is bad. This camera got me through a wedding, my first ever wedding. This got me through it. It's an entry-level DSLR and it let me get my first wedding shots, and it's just amazing. There is so many differences. One being that the D800 is a pro body and that this was the entry-level camera. You'll probably see like a slightly better quality of video coming out of this camera compared to this one, because when I was shooting on this camera, this was the lens I was using, the 18-55, and it's a pretty standard lens. It comes with every kit that you get, like every entry-level kit that you get, you'll always sort of get an 18-55. It covers like a broad range of like, you know, focal lengths from like wide open at 18 to big vast landscapes to 55, which is a sort of small telephoto, I guess. But I've always had a 50mm and I could never record with it because the D800 is a full frame camera, meaning that I no longer have to worry about crop sensor cameras and zooming in when I'm taking a video. So on my D800, my 50mm is a 50mm, but on this here, it was an 85mm. It was a 1.5 crop sensor. There's so many things I'm still getting used to. So there's the one button here, which is the function button, and it's a programmable button that allowed me to map anything I wanted, and I was using it for my ISO. You know, just if you were at a low light situation, you would just hold it down, scroll, and there you go. But on the 800, I think there's three programmable buttons, and that's mental to me. I don't know what I'm going to use them for yet. And you have a menu system, so you can store different loadouts. So you could have a loadout for wildlife photography, you could have a loadout for landscape photography, wedding photography, and all those are like the touch of your button. You would hold down the programmable button and just scroll through, and it changes every setting in your camera to meet that requirement, which I think is absolutely crazy. The other thing, which is very strange to me, so on the back of like entry-level cameras like these, you have your wheel, and that controls your shutter speed. But on the 800, you also have a wheel now on the front, which is here, and it controls your aperture, which is so handy. It's unbelievably handy. One of the big things that I'm excited for is that I got the 800 so I could shoot my wedding. I wanted to get better quality photos than this one. Now, I can't say much because this one still gave me some brilliant photos, but I know for a fact that the 800 is going to perform a lot better in the low light situations, and I'm not going to get weird ISO problems. Like at this, I was topping this off at about 800 ISO before images were becoming unuseful, but I was playing about with the D800 and I had the ISO up at 800, and you would swear that you hadn't even like raised the ISO up at all. I was raising it up to about 1200 ISO, and that's when you sort of saw the grain and things like that. But even at that, they're still very usable images, and I think it's amazing. The other thing for portraits and things, we have an ISO of 50, which is amazing because the standard default for these cameras here are 100, so on super bright days you want to turn down your ISO. On these you would have to get all the way down to 100 ISO and then start messing with shutter speeds and apertures. But on this camera it is 50, which is a game changer. The D800 is it's an older camera, but it's a workhorse of a camera, and I can't fault it at all yet. I have yet to run into an issue. I spent the first day I got it just going through the menu systems, just everything was different, everything was new, it was fresh to me. It's my first professional body I've ever owned. And I've always said it's not about the gear, it's about the photographer and the glass and things, and that is still true to a point. The D800 has a built-in motor, meaning that if your lens has a built-in motor, it's going to auto focus faster, and you're not going to miss that like sentimental scene. You're not going to miss, if you're in sports photography, you're not going to miss the free kick, you're not going to miss the penalty, you're not going to miss any fast actions. So you're not. It tops off at I think 8,000th of a second, which is crazy. I'll put in a few like test shots that I got of me using the camera, because I've just been shooting like my dog, my cats, anything, like I was saying, and I couldn't believe the detail. Like, it's definitely up the quality of this one. It doesn't mean that I can never use DX lenses again, which are lenses designed for crop sensor cameras. It just means that my camera will go into a DX mode, which won't use the full frame of the camera, and it will crop it down again, like you were just shooting with one of these, which I don't mind. It's nice that they done that. So like I was saying before, like on that camera, a 50mm is a 50mm, but on this camera, my 50mm was an 85mm. It was awkward in certain situations. Smaller rooms that I really wanted to use a 50mm, I couldn't because the crop sensor was zooming in too much. Like right now, if I was to record this whole video on this camera using the 50mm, I wouldn't be able to fit myself in the frame. It's just that zoomed in. It's an 85mm lens. But as you can see as well, it's a new background. I'm still trying to work everything out to get like a space built for recording, and I'm in the process of doing that. So I'm pretty fortunate. The big thing about the 800 as well, and it's a sense of security for me. It has 2 card slots. It has one which is a CF slot, which are like the big chunky memory cards. I'll throw a photo up here to let you see what they are. And the second one is an SD card. So what my plan is to use as a backup. What that means is that anytime I take one photo, it'll be sent to the SD card and then copied to the CF card. It means that if I'm shooting a wedding, which is what I'm doing now in July, which I'm so excited for, any photos that I take will automatically be backed up onto my other cards in case one fails. I don't lose any of the photos that day, which I think is phenomenal. It's sad. At the end of the day, I have to retire this camera. It was my first camera. It is my second DSLR. It's done everything for me. I've started a business with this camera. I've done my first family photo shoot with this camera, my first wedding. Hell, my first YouTube video was with this camera and this lens. It'll always have like a special place for me, and I've pushed this camera to its limits, and I think it's finally time for it to rest. I'll never ever sell this camera, no matter what. It's like a sentimental thing. It has gotten me through a lot, like from just leisure and relaxation, grabbing your camera and going out to the forest, going out to the mountains. It's just you and the camera. It's taken some beatings, it's fallen off shelves, it's been drenched in water, it has had dust in it, sand in it, but it still works like a champion. And it's not weather sealed, so I'm surprised it still works. I'm very excited to see how my photos are going to take a step up from now because of using this next camera. I'm just excited to see where it's going to take me. I'm excited to see all the possibilities with it. I'm very excited to see what the wedding's going to turn out like, because if this camera can produce the kind of photos I was getting, I mean, this camera's going to be just 10 times better. I'll actually show you the difference in size between this camera and this camera, so you can see that this one's quite small in your hands and everything, and this camera, this is the camera here. Like, it's interesting. It's very weighty as well. It's very heavy, that camera. So I'm waiting for my CF card to come in the mail, and I might try and get a battery grip for it. I think it allows me then to shoot a burst of 8 shots instead of 5. So yeah, there's a lot about the camera that I still have to figure out. I'm going to update you guys on everything that I learn, every photo I take, how excited I am to be shooting on an 800. If any of you guys have any questions as to cameras or like lenses or why I upgraded and my process of upgrading, like, please put it in the comments below. But aside from that, I'm pretty happy with my camera. I'm going to get this thing like immortalized. I'm going to put it up on a shelf and I'm going to have it looking very nice. We'll always keep it, and hey, you never know, it could be in the background of a future video, like on one of these shelves here. You just never know. But for now, I'm going to just keep messing about with it, seeing the tips and tricks that I can find with it, and see what happens. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and thank you for watching this video and subscribing to my channel. It does mean quite a bit to me, and I will see you all in the next video, and I hope that you guys have a fantastic day.